All right, everybody, this is Macky, and we're back with another episode of the Hidden Threads podcast. And I'm looking eye to eye with Anthony Juice Majusiak. There he is.
Moaning.
Tell me about your hat, Juice.
You like my hat? That's another Boston Scally.
Boston Scally. What's special about this one? Show the side of it.
I went and had it custom.
45-47.
Got to have MAGA.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm having some sound issues. I'm hitting buttons over here.
Did you figure it out?
All right, so Juice had an exciting weekend.
Oh, yeah. I left here and got involved in a DUI, thank you.
I told you not to be getting DUIs, Juice.
9:40 in the morning.
I'm having some serious sound issues, if you haven't noticed.
Are you really?
But we're going to keep rolling with it. There we
All
go.
right.
All right, we're ready. So 9:40 in the morning. So you came here.
Yeah, I came
got
here
a trailer.
and picked up the trailer.
That's right.
Heading home to load up the bike.
Uh-huh.
I get up near the park in Henniger.
Right.
And some guy starts swerving off the road, swerves back on, drops his drive shaft, throws a bottle of booze right out the window.
Dropped his drive shaft?
Yeah.
What is he in, a 1947 Hudson Terraplane or something?
He was in a 1500.
All right. Chevy 1500 pickup.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
the drive shaft fell out.
Fell right out.
How?
I don't know.
They normally just don't fall off.
No. I have a feeling he had it Band-Aided on there.
Mm-hmm.
But he tried to accelerate and come out of the fishtail he was doing, I guess, and drive shaft fell off, and he's sitting there. You can see it just beating the ground underside of his truck as he's throwing a bottle of booze out the window.
Did you stop to help him or what?
Oh, I helped him all right. I helped him into a DUI.
Did you call your buddy and say, hey, look, this guy's an idiot?
Oh, yeah.
Driving all over the place.
I called the police and said, hey, man, we got one less than a quarter mile from the police station.
So that's 9:30 on a Saturday. He's getting after it.
Oh, he's a professional. Yeah, he's not an amateur. This isn't a Friday night drinker.
When I was a professional drinker, we used to be like, oh, let's wait till 12, lunchtime at least.
Oh, I didn't wait that long either. When I was drinking, no.
Sometimes you do the hair of the dog the next day.
Yeah,
Make you feel better. But then you just get drunk again.
Yeah. So. Then he comes down, the cops show up, and he's like, why'd you throw that bottle of liquor out the window? He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I walked right over, pointed at it, and I said, yeah, you do. It's right there.
That's the life there, Juice. That's good living.
Oh, I'm telling you. I just couldn't do it anymore. I'm too old for that.
Well, I'd get divorced, and plus, it cost me a lot of money. So.
Yeah.
But it would. All right, so we got a whole different topic besides DUIs today.
All right, what are we talking about?
Paul Everett.
Oh, yes.
You read up on that. Tell me what you know about this guy.
Yes. I think he got convicted. He may have been a participant, but they just hammered him. They threw the book at him. Mm-hmm. And everybody else was pretty much nothing.
All right. So I know Paul pretty well. I got to know him through jail conversations, chat. They had a chat app. We could chat back and forth. And I got to know him pretty well. I kind of like him. Is that bad?
No.
No. I think he made a horrible mistake back in his young days, but I think he's a decent guy. I mean, just talking to him, I got to learn the ins and outs of death row. That was pretty cool.
Right.
How they get to watch TV. They're a little more chill over on death row. So,
yeah, he's down at FSP.
Yeah, they're over at Tallahassee, I think.
Yeah.
Near Tallahassee or right outside Tallahassee. But we discuss Alabama football. You know, he's just a normal guy. But he made this mistake over 20 years ago. And I'm going to read a little bit about this case from an article from the Panhandle, mypanhandle.com, written in 2018. I'm going to go through this a little bit to give everybody a background. It says the death sentence for a local murderer was upheld. He's not local, by the way. He's from up here where we live.
Right.
So they got it wrong right out the gate. Local murderer was upheld by the Florida Supreme Court this week. Paul Everett sexually assaulted and beat Kelly Bailey in her Panama City Beach home in November of 2001. He was sentenced to death by unanimous jury at a subsequent trial. 2 appeals, by the way. It's gone to the normal automatic appeal of the state, and the feds have upheld it. Now, the feds they started reviewing their appeal because they can review themselves, right?
Right.
Any judiciary can, based off of a report we sent to them. All right, continuing, it says, however, Everett's had dozens of other death row inmates appealed the death sentence after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Florida's death sentencing laws were unconstitutional. So they got some technical stuff they're appealing on there. In particular, the court noted that the jury should unanimously agree when the death penalty is warranted. In their ruling, Florida Supreme Court denied a new sentencing phase for Everett because in his previous sentence, the jury unanimously agreed on the death penalty. So he had a unanimous decision there on that one. Let me get an article up here I had up. It tells more about the murder. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me more about what you read about it.
So she had come home. The victim had come home, and I guess she worked night shift. Came home to somebody burglarizing her house.
Right.
And it went from there. It turned into a beating, brutal rape,
right,
and then murder.
Yeah, I'm over on Murderpedia now.
The media never lies.
So you can. I like reading about murder and stuff like that. Not that I just like reading I get more into the criminology side. Why would they do this? Why would they take it to such an extreme? I get into that. But when you get in these articles, they're never accurate, especially if you get behind the scenes knowledge like we do this one. So
right.
It said that Paul Everett lived in Alabama but came to Panama City Beach, Florida during the week of 11/2/2001. He stayed at a motel, played video games at one of the arcades, and used drugs. So he went down with a bunch of buddies, about 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Week of partying at Panama City. All right. Now, my client, Paul, alleges that him and this Kelly, she was a party girl, not disparaging her. They're all young people partying, right, in Panama. She lived there, right up the road from where they were staying. And they started hooking up, all right, doing drugs, drinking, whatever, okay? And for the week, they were just, you ever been on a long drunk fest, Juice?
Several times in my life.
They were doing that, but they doing a little LSD and a little bit of methamphetamine, a little bit of that. So
yeah,
it was an extra party.
Right.
But, all right. And they say that my guy, Paul, never had a relationship with her and that he broke in her house and she caught him, go through drawers or whatever and confronted him. And then he knocked her out, sexually assaulted her, and then beat her and then choked her. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Killed her. Left her right there. And then her stepdad was calling for her to she was a phlebotomist at the hospital. So she was coming off of a weird shift. They have the weird shifts there.
Yeah.
And her dad was trying to get a hold of her the next day. Never to get a hold of her. So he went over and she was dead. All right. Now, my client, Paul Everett, the one that got convicted of this, he said that, so he got confronted by law enforcement several times over this deal, interviewed, and asked for a lawyer every single time. So how does it keep going? We've got another one like this where it just keeps going, Juice. How is that possible?
It's possible because of the ignorance of the officers.
Uh-huh.
That's how it's possible. And they let ego and testosterone take over.
But how does it get past one room full of lawyers in a courtroom and then past 2 more room full of lawyers in 2 more courtrooms?
You want my opinion?
Yeah.
They're looking at their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. They're politicians.
Mm-hmm.
The better the number, the more serious or heinous the crime, the convictions they get makes them look bigger, and they're able to use that on a campaign trail.
Okay. So DAs, judges, they're all politicians.
All of them, yeah.
We voted for about 4 judges this past go around, I remember. So
we did.
Yep. One of them was unopposed. Maybe they need some opposition.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
I think judge is hard because, you can go be a lawyer and make your cool $300K a year and go home and kind of set your own schedule, run your own business. Here, we're going to throw you in this judge seat, making $80K a year, and you got to clock in every day and clock out and deal with a bunch of garbage.
I don't know why they would give up $300K for $80K.
Judges don't make that much money until you get up in like the Supreme Court level.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not an enormous amount, although they get rich somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
It's like
politicians like Nancy Pelosi and the rest of them.
Our state politicians get rich too, by the way.
Oh, of course they do.
And it's like one of those deals. But anyways, it says here specifically the injuries to Miss Bailey resulting from the attack included a fractured nose, somewhat swollen eyelids, abrasions to the bottom of her chin, lacerations and bruising to various areas of her lip, a laceration to the top lip, which her front teeth protruded. She got hit in the face a bunch.
Right.
She got beat up. Bruising to the tongue, knocked out tooth, abrasions and a carpet burns on her thumb, elbows, and middle of her back, and abrasions to her vagina. Now, if you look at the medical examiner's report, it's not something that's indicative of a violent sexual assault.
Well, you have to build your case, so every little bit that they want to throw in there, they can.
Mm-hmm. Now, he had a public pretender All the time, every time.
Right.
Y'all like the name Public Pretender? We like it.
Yeah.
Juice likes it.
That's my favorite.
Public Defender is what we're talking about. And none of this was brought up. And I thought this, he's a lucky guy. He's got like 12 sisters. And I think it's more like 4 sisters. That's who I've been dealing with on the outside, right?
Right.
Sisters. And his mother, for a while, she died. But anyways, they said that Paul wasn't that kind of guy, obviously, right? They're going to say that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But based off what I saw, there's no way she was sexually assaulted. Now, it did say that she'd had sexual intercourse.
Big difference.
Yeah. Now, would that be indicative of somebody who was hooking up throughout the week with a guy and we had sex? Yes.
Yeah.
It didn't look like a brutal sexual assault. And the medical examiner gave 4 different times of death. We're not talking, time of death is a guess, basically. Anyways, all right, you're going off some science there, but the further you get away from that body being deceased, the more that gap expands, right?
Correct.
She gave 4 different zones of death. I mean, time frames of death. Does that make sense?
No.
Wide birth, all right? And I brought that up in my report as well. And I did a pretty precise timeline in there. Did you see that?
Yeah, I seen that.
One of the lawyers we were doing said, "Hey, are you a doctor?" And I said, "No." And he said, "You give better analysis than doctors do." And I'm like, "I just read the books, man. I go off what the smart people say. I know nothing. I just went off what the classes I've taken taught me." But anyway, this guy, I think he might have been involved in it. But we got a guy we're going to talk about in the second part that lives nearby us that we think is the main culprit. But
okay.
Now, Mr. Everett was found in a hotel room by bail bondsmen. They were looking at him for something else, okay, for bouncing checks. He had a warrant out in Alabama, and they went down to pick him up, and they found him in the hotel. And they did surveillance because he wasn't outside. And they did surveillance on this room for 12 hours. And it was during the time that the medical examiner said the girl would have died.
So why are bondsmen looking for somebody on bad checks? Did he have like $100,000 in bad checks?
Yes, they were massive. He had big ones.
Okay.
They're a bunch.
Because normally, they don't.
Well, he stole them from somebody,
Okay.
and then was writing them, and he had a string of them around. All right, he wasn't a good guy at the time. We're not going to lie. He says that now. He said I was a dumb A. You know. What
Okay.
I mean?
I've been that my whole life.
Right.
I just got in more trouble as a youth.
You just know how to hide it better now, right?
Yeah.
So
I had it under my hat.
But anyway, they did surveillance on his room. He did not leave for 12 hours, and then he finally walked out to go to the Coke machine, and they snatched him up. And that was during
That's the timeline when this murder apparently, supposedly, allegedly took place.
Right.
Okay.
Now, one of the many timelines. It doesn't fit my timeline. That he would no way, if he was in his room, unless he snuck out the window. There was the back window in the bathroom, like they do in the movies.
Oh, pull a Jack Reacher.
Yeah. You know, they have all these windows in these movies and the hotels. I've never seen one once, ever.
I have, but you weren't getting out of it.
They're little tiny things, or they're sealed up, right?
Yeah.
Unless you throw a chair through it.
Oh, yeah. There's expanded metal on the outside of it. There's no way you're just climbing out that tiny little window.
I take that back. The Triangle had some windows in the hotel room. Remember the Triangle?
Yes, I do remember.
Is it still there? I don't know. I haven't been to Jacksonville in 20 years. I don't know. But we need to take a ride up there one day.
I haven't been there since 93.
It's been a while. I went back because I worked locally there for a while. I sold heavy equipment, so I had a couple customers down there. So I would drive through. I didn't hang out. I didn't go to the Tar Heel or anything.
Okay.
But anyway, Paul here. A couple things are wrong, and we're going to get back into this in the second part and talk about what was presented to the jury, what was not, and some problems. You ready for that, Juice?
Oh, definitely.
All right, let's take a break. Yep, safe online dating. It's a big deal. So maybe you met the person of your dreams on Tinder or one of the other platforms, and you're getting ready to meet up with them in person. Or maybe you've been in a long-distance online relationship with them. You just want to know who they are. Well, we have a tool called TLOXP. It's only available to federal agents, police forces, and private investigators. Hey, that's me. And we can tell you about their bankruptcies, judgments, evictions, divorces, arrest record, important things you need to know before spending any more time with this person. All right, get to know who they are and confront them with it. or just break up with them, whatever your choice is. But you have to call us or fill out the information on the link below. You're going to hear from a real private investigator that's going to go over this data with you, go over the pricing options with you, and get the information you need to be safe online. Don't wait any longer. Click the link or give us a call to get started. The number is 866-910-7499. Again, 866-910-7499, or click the link. Hope to talk to you soon. Good.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we're back with the second part, and we're going to get into the next part of this Paul Everett case, which is very interesting. What do you think, Juice?
Oh, yeah, this is great so far.
You like it?
Yeah.
All right, talking about murder, and what I wanted to get into was the DNA part. So they did find my client's DNA on the body.
Well, weren't they having sexual intercourse?
They were having sexual intercourse, according to my client. But they also found 2 other unknown male DNA specimens.
Say it isn't so.
All right. So why weren't they ever tested and found out who the
Exactly.
It just never was. They found out. They said, we got a guy. He's a little punk from Alabama. Let's put it on him. Right.
Yep.
They made an easy way out. And then they quit investigating all these
Right.
things. All right. Let's get into this a little bit more. Now, I got into this case. It was one of my first murder cases I ever did independently away from the military. All right. I've been in business for about 2 months. And I told the family, I don't want to do it. I'm kind of new to this. I started recommending some other people, and they're like, no, you're doing it. We're going to throw our money at you, and you're going to do it. I guess they like me for whatever reason. And I said, okay. So I was consumed by this thing I get consumed by them now, don't I, Juice?
Yeah, you can get sucked into a case.
I mean, I'm talking about now. Do I get consumed by cases?
Yes.
Do I?
A little bit.
I don't think it must have been real bad back in the day, because I don't think I do now.
You do, but not as much.
Yeah, you got to kind of block it out and spend time at home and those things away from it, no matter what kind of case it is. But I got into this thing, and I immediately started interviewing some people that had some knowledge, okay? There was a girl. She was up here with us. Her name is, I'll say her name, Tasha Todd. She would come over and hang out with us if I told her to.
Right.
She's local. She would talk on the mic. But anyway, she went through a rehab program, all right? In Alabama, they have color codes, so to get back in good graces with the court, you got to pass a series of urinalysis, okay? It's a flawed program, I know.
Yeah.
But to get back into graces, you got to go. It depends on what the judge says. Sometimes it can be 5, sometimes it can be 10, depending on what else you did with your stuff. Anyway, she was doing color code. So they call your color, and you all go down to the health department, and you're sitting there waiting. Jared Farmer was in the waiting room with him, bragging about how he was telling everybody in there how him and a guy got in an argument. He said, I got away with murder. I'll do it again. I killed that girl in Florida and pinned it on Paul Everett. I'll do the same thing to you.
Oh, that's a clue in the FBI's eyes.
He said that. Now, I brought this up to the local police here, our local police, deputies, police department, and they just I don't want to deal with it. You know?
Imagine that.
They didn't want to deal with it. The family, Paul thought I was just blowing them off. No, I said, no, they're not going to talk about it. And then we got more into this Farmer guy. All right. He is on the radar of all the police departments. He did a pretty long stint in jail for dealing drugs and beating up somebody.
Mm-hmm.
He's been known to sexually assault females. We had one that came forward and did an interview with her, and that he sexually assaulted her back when they were doing dope. Violently, beat her up, punched her in the face a few times, bloodied her up, and then sexually assaulted her. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Does it? It sounds like this murder we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Now, our client, Paul, had never been in trouble for that, punching women in the face and sexually assaulting them with a bloody face.
Yeah, he didn't. He was never on the radar for any violent crimes.
And it just the check kiting and petty theft and that stuff. He was making money to get dope is what he was doing. And then Farmer's ex-wife, we located her and started talking to her, and she would not. Well, first she said she would talk to us. I set up the time to go meet with her in person. And before I get there and she won't come out, she said, I'm not talking to you. I don't feel safe talking to you.
Right.
Talking about my ex-husband and his brother. His brother's Jerome. All right. She don't feel safe. So somebody got to her.
Oh, of
They're
course.
like, we're going to beat you up. Because she's remarried, got a nice family, is a school teacher and all that. You know what I mean? She's gotten out of that life. Another thing she did back when this murder happened. So Paul hadn't even been put in jail yet. And they were driving back from Florida. She was with them down there. So it was Jared Farmer, Jerome Farmer, Paul Everett, and Jared's wife, this woman we talked to. They're driving back from Florida. It's about, 5 or 6 hours to get up here, depending on traffic and those things. And the body hadn't even been discovered yet. And she calls Paul Everett's sister and says, Paul just killed somebody.
Okay.
Nobody even knew there was a death yet. Body hadn't been discovered yet.
Right.
Zero. None of this. Absolutely none of this was ever brought up to a jury or revealed to the opposing party in court.
Oh, so they don't play by discovery rules.
Yeah, it's called a Brady violation according to the U.S. Supreme Court. Of course, we don't acknowledge the Supreme Court anymore. We just blow it off.
Right.
But what do you think so far?
Very interesting case.
Yeah. You think our guy got screwed?
Heavily.
We wouldn't be hired if he didn't, right?
Right.
So, you think you want to get my thoughts on what I think happened?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think these boys got into a little jealousy over this girl. All right. And Paul probably was a patsy a little bit in this deal and told him where she lived, and they went over to try to get have sex with her, and nothing. And she resisted them, and they killed her. I say they. It could be one or more, right?
Very plausible.
But I'm sure that they told Paul, hey, we're going over there to see her and you're not going, one of those type of deals. And he just stayed back and stayed out of it. But he probably did tell him where she lived. And they went over to party with her. She didn't want to party. And so they killed her. You think that's possible?
Oh, very plausible.
Right. Here's a problem. They got our guy, Paul, him and Jared Farmer went to Walmart and he bought a fish bat. You know what a fish bat is?
Croaker stick.
Croaker
of course.
stick, little hammer that you hit a shark in the head when you catch a shark.
Yeah.
A fish with teeth type thing.
Yep.
You knock them out so you don't get your fingers bit off. Right?
Right.
But they said that the injuries, the detective said the injuries were in there, looked like something you would see with a fish bat. But if you look at the injuries, it looks more like a knuckle sandwich.
Right. Big difference.
There's no blunt object injury. She didn't have a cracked skull, which would be indicative of a hammer or a object with a edge on it, like you would see on the tip of a bat or something like that. Like you see when people get hit in the face with a bat. Right. There was none of those injuries. It was all like punches to the face. All right. And one of the reports said, well, she might have got hit under the jaw with the bat, but that's where she bit her tongue. If I give you an uppercut, Juice, and you don't have a mouthpiece in, you're going to bite your tongue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You might need an uppercut today. What do you think?
Probably 2.
Maybe 2?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, what do you think about all that stuff?
I think it's very plausible. But my question is, this is one of the reasons I can't stand dealing with a lot of the law enforcement officers.
Mm-hmm.
If you know there was more than one person, why are you not investigating everybody?
So they did a little bit with Farmer.
No, you have to put the same amount until you can definitely rule those people out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start gearing towards who you believe actually did it. I don't think they did their due diligence. That's just me.
So Farmer, they did pick him up and talk to him. Okay. While down there now, and they used him as a witness against our guy. They used his statements against our guy. Now he did go into a deposition room under oath and lied about what he was doing, but they said they took what he was doing as a lie, and he got in trouble for it. He got charged for perjury.
Right.
But then they still accepted his testimony about Paul Everett. And it went to the jury. It went in front of the court. I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
That's part of the problem with having a public pretender.
Public pretender. They don't push hard enough, do they?
No, they don't.
Well, now Paul has you remember who's that girl that Anthony?
Oh, Casey Anthony.
Casey Anthony. Remember that team down there, right? She had a team of lawyers. She had the main guy, the Puerto Rican guy.
Yeah.
He's got one of those people who's on that team. So a good lawyer now. They paid a lot of money, refinance some homes and stuff to get a good lawyer. I actually recommended it. I said, hey, they was like, we don't want to use those people. They got a murderer off. I said, duh. I said, I don't think he's a murderer, but we need somebody with that kind of skill, you know.
Let me tell you, if I get in trouble for something like that, I'm calling Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran's dead, but you get one of his people.
It doesn't matter. I'm calling him.
Get one of his people. Call him from the grave.
Yes.
They'll conjure him up. But they got that guy, and I've talked to him a lot. He's very good. Now, he spends a lot of his time in Puerto Rico. He has like a mansion down there.
Right.
And I was talking to him one day, and you could hear his pet birds squawking in the background, like the island birds.
Yeah.
I was like, he's a good guy, though.
Big macaw or something hanging out with him.
Yeah. But anyway, he's a good one. Now, the state did send up some detectives. Because they did an internal evaluation. They sent up a detective and a lawyer to talk to me here. They came right here to my house,
right,
and talked to me. And they were like, "We don't think he did it." I'm like, "Well, why is he still in prison?" And they're like, "Well, here's what's got to happen. We're going to send out a recommendation. You send your report to DeSantis, the governor of Florida,
right,
and then he's the one that makes a decision on this. All right, he can override any Supreme Court, state or federal. Well, not federal, but
but
the federal
within
just
his
gives
jurisdiction.
The federal just gives a recommendation,
right?
And we haven't heard anything. That's been over almost 3 years now. I know DeSantis is out running for president and all this stuff, but he needs the governor a little bit.
You got to get one of the state lobbyists to get in his ear.
Get in his ear a little bit. We need to push it again. I haven't talked to Paul in a year. We kind of lost touch, but he did get his, it was upheld whenever it came back up. But it's typically in Florida when it goes up and say, hey, his death warrant, he's been on his time, all of his appeals are exhausted.
Right.
It's time to kill him. The state of Florida typically goes pretty quick. You lived down there for a while.
Oh yeah, they go. It's like an express lane.
Yeah. Now you'll go through appeals process for up to 20 years or so, but
right.
And it hasn't happened yet. So that was over 2 years ago when that happened. So I don't know. Maybe DeSantis is just dragging his feet, but people don't need to be sitting in prison when he needs a new trials, in my opinion.
Right.
A new trial.
Yeah,
all this stuff brought up to some logical people. The problem is 2 of the detectives are dead that was on this. They died of like cancer. You know what I mean? So, and the 2 bounty hunters that found that was watching them, they're dead as well. Their information was brought to me by their nephew, who still runs their company.
Right.
He took over the reins after they got older and sick, and he found their notes and goes, "Hey, this is ridiculous," and sent me their notes.
Oh,
those were never, ever, ever presented to the jury, but the police had them. It's called a Brady violation. If you withhold exculpatory evidence from the other side, it is a violation of the constitutional rights. You should be let out of jail right then.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get out and then get paid.
That'd be nice. He told me if he gets out, he's paying me, and I'm like, I ain't worried about it. I wouldn't mind a little change here.
Right, right.
I'd take a little bit, but he would sue him and get paid, though. So
yeah, I think he should.
I'm going to reach back out to him to see what's going on his end because, he talks to the lawyers more than I do, and they're always there. But maybe a deal where you need to take a trip to Tallahassee. Juice, what do you think?
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
It's only a few hours away.
Yeah, a few hours. About 8. But
it's not like we haven't gone on longer road trips.
Tallahassee would be better than Indiana.
Yeah.
Where it's 9 degrees all day.
Yeah. It was a little frigid.
9 all day. People's out jogging and stuff. I'm like, you're going to die.
Yeah. I'm not going to die because I'm not jogging.
I'm in the heat.
Yeah.
So we got to pump gas on the way back, and I'm like, I hop back, turn the gas pump on, and hop right back in. I'm like, I'm going to die out here. All right. So that's all we got on the Everett case. Go ahead and put your comments in about it, and let's hear what you got, what y'all think. All right. Anything else, Juice, before we leave?
Nope.
Say bye, Juice.
Bye, Juice.